Yo, what's up guys? You got pokeaim here, coach of the Bronx Beartics with my final team preparation for the regular season of the UCL. It is week 15 and I am taking on the King Nappy. Now I've already clinched playoffs, I'm already in playoffs 100%. But obviously, who's calling me from Salt Lake City, Utah? Get out of here. Anyway, I've already made playoffs, but I still want to win, obviously. And Nappy does have a very scary team. He's coach of the Tucson Terrakions, if you guys didn't know. Like, he has Mega Gardevoir. Offensively, it's ridiculous versus me. Thunderous T as well. Dragonite. Yeah, it's a very threatening team. I built my team with my boy Tony, though, and my boy Kabu did make my mon. So big shout-outs to both of them, obviously, for helping me out. And this week, I felt offense was pretty much the best way to overpower him. I thought that if I brought too many bulky mons, something like Banded Gallade or SD Gallade or SD Drapion or Banded Dragonite or Nasty Flat Thunderous, even Taunt Mega Gardevoir, all of those could just stop me in my tracks. Even Shell Smash Amistar could be scary. So I opted to bring something more offensively based this week, and let's go right into it. So first off, we have Strong Jaw, the SD Yachi Berry Garchomp. Now this has a lot of potential versus his team. The main mon that he has that could take a hit from this thing at +2 is Chestnut. After that, everything else dies or is severely weakened. Mega Gardevoir dies to +2 Earthquake. It almost dies to regular Earthquake with Stealth Rock up. It sometimes dies. Thunderous dies to Stone Edge, and I do have Yachi Berry just in case it is Scarf Thunderous if he wants to try and outspeed me. I do outspeed his Thunderous though by a point, so LO 50 anyway. So I can go for Stone Edge and knock that thing out. Stone Edge also hits Rotom if it's +2 boosted. It does knock out even defensive Rotom. Dragonite is hit by Dragon Claw. Empoleon, it could be Shukaberry this game or Wakamberry, depending on what it wants to be. But if it is that, then it's better for my Manaphy since it doesn't have leftovers recovery. But obviously, Wakamberry would be for Fusion Bolt from my Beatdown, and Shukaberry would be for Earthquake from Garchomp. But +2 Earthquake has a chance to beat it through Shukaberry anyway, depending on damage that I got prior on it. But yeah, just max speed, max attack. Outspeed his entire team outside of Ambipom. And Thunderous has to be Scarf in order to outspeed me. Now, again, I think Yachi Berry is really good. It gives me a ground type versus him as well, so he can't spam Volts, which he has used Choice Scarf Thunderous a lot during the UCL. So that's why I really wanted this ground type to be able to take that thing on. And also the fact that it's Garchomp, it just doesn't die to much versus his team at all. Obviously, Hyper Voice knocks it out, but like weaker attacks like Ambipom's Return, Drapion's Knockoff, all that stuff. He can even live Close Combat from Gallade, and definitely Ice Punch from Gallade. But this mon just puts in a lot of work versus him offensively, and Strong Jaw is, I think, the way to go versus him. I think SD Garchomp is definitely the way to go versus him. So next up, I want an answer to his Mega Gardevoir and Dragonite, even Ambipom, things like that. So I decided to bring my Mega Aggron this week as my Stealth Rocker. We're going max speed def, just max. Stealth Rock, Heavy Slam can knock out Gallade. Also knocks out Mega Gardevoir. Ice Punch deals with Dragonite as well as Thunderous Therian form. Also does a bit of damage to Chestnut. Main reason why I have Ice Punch over Avalanche, even though Avalanche can definitely be a bit stronger in some cases if I'm taking the hit second and I'm obviously slow, is because Ice Punch, Avalanche isn't boosted when you switch out, not like Payback or like Analytic. It's not like boosted like those when you switch out. So I actually have to be hit for Avalanche to do damage. And well, Payback doesn't get boosted anymore in the generation, if I'm not mistaken, anyway. But since DBP, I don't think it's been boosted. But Ice Punch just does the most, like, direct damage. Ice Punch can 2-hit KO Dragonite, 2-hit KO Thunderous. Heavy Slam into Ice Punch always knocks out Thunderous, so. And my last move is Superpower over Earthquake, because if the Empoleon is Shukaberry, I want to be able to get off the most damage that I can do that thing. Also hits Rotom Heat for a little bit of damage. Hits Amistar as well. But basically, I just always want to be able to get off damage with this thing. I don't want to get it off. I don't want to be weak in damage versus Empoleon with an Earthquake if it is Shukaberry, like I said. And even though Superpower will drop my defenses, I'm not going to be staying in after. And chances are, if I'm Superpower something, I'm going to be slower than it anyway, so I'm not getting the drops until I do or I get off my attack. So Aggron's there, be able to take hits from Thunderous, be able to take hits from Gardevoir, Dragonite. It can take hits from Thunderous, by the way. As well as Ambipom, and check Drapion as well with just a Heavy Slam, 2-hit KOing it. Next up, we have Beatdown. Now, we're running Sub-Roost Beatdown with Life Orb. It might seem weird. You might be thinking, well, why don't you run Iron Head? Because you can knock out Mega Gardevoir prior to the the Mega Evolution with it and outspeed it and knock it out with Iron Head. This is true. However, I really like Sub Roost because it can Sub Roost up on stuff like Gastrodon, on Chestnut, if Chestnut wants the Spiky Shield to switch out. If Empoleon is not running the Flash Cannon or Roar, I Sub Roost up on that. And Earth Power does 2-hit KO regardless. Sugar Berry popped on the first one, second one knocks it out. Ice Beam 2-hit KOs everything on his team. Gardevoir's 2-hit KO with the modest Ice Beam. Thunderous dies, Dragonite dies through multi-scale because of Terravolt. Rotom is destroyed by Earth Power, it dies. And I can also sub up on Rotom with this spread. Overheat will break my sub only on the first time. Volt Switch never breaks the sub. Palm doesn't knock me out. I outspeed Gallade by a point, Jolly Gallade. And if I sub up on it, I can potentially knock it out with Ice Beam after a close combat. However, it really depends on the Gallade set, because if it's like SD, I'm a bit more scared of it. I don't know. And this also checks Amistar as well as Pinsir. And it can also sub up on Gastrodon if it's not running Earthquake or Earth Power. And I think versus my team, where I have Pokemon like Combine Reuniclus and Double Dragon, I would think his set on Gastrodon would be something like Scald, Recover, Ice Beam to deal with those dragons, and maybe physically defensive Gastrodon, by the way, just to deal with my my Garchomp and potentially beat down too if it is physical, as well as my Flagon. And Ice Beam does 2-hit KO that, and I could just sub Roost on that. And I would think his last move might be something like Clear Smog or anything like that, just to beat Combine Reuniclus, or not necessarily beat it, but at least like lower its stats, or get its stats back to regular. And he could definitely be something like Curse Gastrodon too, which isn't the most threatening because obviously my next mon is a grass type, so I'm not too worried about something like Curse Gastrodon. I would think that Ice Beam would be his choice, or it's like what he would be running, maybe even Toxic over Clear Smog, because that hits something like Alomola or also my Tangrowth upon switching more than Ice Beam would do if I was in Assault Vest. So Life of Kieran Black puts in a lot of work versus his team. And I'm hoping that Beatdown could definitely do something versus his squad. Beatdown also opens up doors for Garchomp because Beatdown beats Chestnut and pops a Sugar Berry on Empoleon if it does have it, and then Garchomp just goes to town versus him. Even if he's Scarf Thunders, I don't care. I have Yachi Berry. I live it, knock him out with Stone Edge, providing I hit. Next up, we do have Assault Vest Tangrowth, my lucky. And main reason I'm bringing Assault Vest is because it is not 2-hit KO'd by Timid Gardevoir's Hyper Voice, ever. While Sludge Bomb after Rocks is always 2-hit KO. Knockoff is nice for getting rid of Rotom Heat's leftovers. Getting rid of Thundurus' Scarf. This also checks Thundurus. HP Ice from Scarf Thundurus is like a 4-hit KO, almost, I believe. On some occasions, it's a 4-hit KO. So, with HP Ice also of my own, I can also check Dragonite, as well as do a bit of damage to Chestnut. Knockoff is just really good, and this also checks Amistar, depending on the set. If it's Shell Smash like White Herb, I can knock it out with Giga Drain after. And at the same time being able to pivot in on Empoleon, even if it has Ice Beam, I don't care. I knock off its item, I Giga Drain it down, I start getting a bit of recovery back. With Regenerator, I can also swap between this and a couple mons. Like, between this and Aggron, I think Mega Gardevoir is checked. I can swap between both of them, and obviously I have Garchomp, which is faster, and knock it out with Earthquake. I have a bit of prior damage, but if he wants to like Focus Blast first, I can go Tangrowth, and then Sludge Bomb, and then pivot into Aggron, then go back and have the Regenerator, get back and forth like that. So, yeah, that's why I wanted to bring Assault Vest Tangrowth. I think Assault Vest Tangrowth definitely checks the majority of the special attackers on his team. Like, Gardevoir doesn't 2-hit KO unless it's Modest. And if it's Modest, it's always going to be slower than Kieran Black. I think it has to be Timid this game because that allows it to outspeed Kieran Black after Mega Evolution. And Kieran Black is just a big threat to his team, so I think he would run that. Next up, we have Hard Body because I didn't really have a fighting resist at all. And something like Gallade, whether it be SD or Bandit. Actually, Bandit Gallade is a threat anyway because it does 2-hit KO Reuniclus regardless of max defense, max HP. And SD Gallade with a Life Orb at +2 does knock out Reuniclus also with knockoff, so it's very much a threat versus the squad. Also, another reason, by the way, that I have Tangrowth. I'm not bringing any Hazard Control this week, as you guys can see, because I think that he would bring Empoleon with Defog versus me, so he might not bring Spikes. He could bring Chestnut with like Leech Seed or something like that, but I would think that he might not bring Hazards because he has to Defog to keep Dragonite's multi-scale up. That way he can take on Pokemon like Reuniclus that are boosted because Choice Band and Outrage. I'm thinking he might bring Choice Band and Dragonite. I guess he could bring Dragon Dance Dragonite, though he has Love, Choice Band a lot. Special Dragonite is also very, 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 very solid versus my team, or like Agility or something like that. But yeah, Redux is just there as a fighting check because I needed to sponge those fighting hits. This can also just Combine up and kind of win. Combine Shadow Ball, Psychic hits everything on his team, and I can also just outright beat something like Mega Gardevoir if it's not boosted either. If I have enough boost, I do beat it with Shadow Ball. I can set up on Empoleon. I have Magic Guard, so I don't care about Toxic unless it has Roar. It's not beating me. I could also set up on Gallade if it's like Choice Scarf. Choice Scarf Gallade would actually be a lot better for me because I definitely set up on that thing. Once it knocks me off, I can recover off, and its knockoff is going to be doing a lot less. And just Psychic hits everything more than Psyshock would. Psychic hits Chestnut a lot harder. This also gives me, like I said, fighting resist, so very solid versus his team. Aggron also checks Pinsir, which is something that could be cool. It could be Mold Breaker, Pinsir with Stealth Breaker. I don't know. But this also checks Gastrodon depending on the set. And I think between this, Beatdown, and Lucky, I should be okay versus Gastrodon. Last but not least, we have the captain of the Bronx Beartics, Manaphy. And we're just running max speed because we want to potentially speed tie with Mega Gardevoir at that and outspeed literally everything else except for Thundurus and Ambipom. Main reason I'm not running Wakanberry over Leftovers is because Leftovers allows me to beat Gastrodon a lot easier. Also take weakened hits from Empoleon. Even take Extreme Speed from Dragonite. And we're Tail Glow Rain Dance with Scald, Ice Beam, and that because basically we beat Gastrodon 1v1 if it is Toxic. And I just Tail Glow up and with Hydration plus Rain Dance, I don't care about that. And Scald and Ice Beam hits his entire team. Scald at +3 with Rain kills Gardevoir. Thundurus dies to Ice Beam. Dragonite dies to Ice Beam. Scald on Rotom Heat. And Empoleon is beat 1v1 with Scald Burns. And I don't have to worry about my own Scald Burns or his own Scald Burns or Toxic just because of the Hydration Rain Dance. Chestnut's beat by Ice Beam. Ambipom dies to Scald. Drapion dies to Scald. Glade dies to +3 Scald. Almastar dies. Gastrodon is 2-hit KO'd by +3 Ice Beam. And like I said, I beat that 1v1, and Pinsir obviously dies to Scald. So, again, a very, very offensive team. Not really much like EV spreading around like I usually do. I went as offensive as possible. If you guys didn't know, my Kyurem Black does outspeed Gallade by a point. So I am faster than that thing. Like I said, I could sub and then Ice Beam on it. Depending on the set, though. If I think it's like Scarf Gallade, I'll have to switch out. At least early on in the game. But that's going to be my team for this week, guys. I want to know... I want to know. Like, I really want to know. I don't know. What am I saying? I hope you guys are rooting for the Bronx Beartics in their final battle of the UCL regular season. It has been a grueling 3 months plus. And now we are on our way to playoffs after this. So, hope you guys all enjoy. Feel free to leave a like, subscribe, do your thing. And I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye, friends. The battle goes up on Saturday at 2 p.m. if I'm not mistaken. So, goodbye, friends.